Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, the Democratic National Convention. Did Hillary Clinton make the case to be the next president of the United States? Sharp contrasts between Philadelphia and Cleveland. Which one reflected your worldview? The Freddie Gray prosecutions ended as State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby disparages the criminal justice system. What to make of Gray's tragic death and the racial divide it has spawned? And after two contentious community relations meetings, is there a growing problem between the police and the African American community here in Montgomery County? Stay tuned. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by political strategist Susan Heltemes, former Republican candidate for delegate Rose Lee, civil rights activist Vernon Ricks, and Republican activist Jerry Cave. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. There were two views on display in the city of brotherly love this week. Outside the convention hall, there were sporadic signs of political unrest. American flags were burned, while the flags of the old Soviet Union, Mexico, and others were furled and waved. Inside the convention hall, there were moments of disharmony as supporters of socialist candidate Bernie Sanders groused about the unfairness of the process. Party regulars quickly restored order, however, and the remainder of the week proceeded as scripted. A movie, The Making of Hillary, the Next Queen. Susan, it's not surprising that the Democratic National Convention was all about Hillary Clinton, but as she leaves Philadelphia as the first woman nominated to head the ticket of a major political party, many Americans remain skeptical about her trustworthiness and question whether she should lead the country. Will she get the bounce she needs from the convention?
It's going to be a little hard to determine if there's a real bump because the Olympics and stuff are starting. But I think the real bump that Hillary is going to have is that she came out of this convention with the governor of the state of Pennsylvania there. Unlike Ohio, she had almost every Democratic senator and congressman there supporting her, including Bernie Sanders. And when she goes out on the campaign trail, she knows her back is being covered also by Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Joe Biden, and a host of characters. That's going to be the real bump that Hillary got out of this.
Thank you, Susan. Rose, critics contend that at best, Mrs. Clinton represents the third term of Barack Obama, and at worst, she will continue the failed policies of the 44th president. What do you think?
I think she's going to pursue policies that are useful to her position. She changes her position depending on how the political winds go. So when her husband was president, he signed NAFTA and she supported that. And then in 2008, on the campaign trail, she reversed herself. And now she was totally behind TPP and when she was Secretary of State. And then now she's reversing herself again. And Terry McAuliffe has said that once she gets elected, she'll change again. So I don't think she's necessarily going to follow whatever Obama has done, but I think that she will do whatever she thinks makes political sense.
When she supported TPP, she was the Secretary of State, and like a good employee, you do it. And when it came to NAFTA, as I recall, every Republican senator and congressman pretty much supported it. It was pretty much across the board, but she was Mrs.
Right, but we're
Clinton.
not talking about everybody else. We're talking about her position and what she supported and what she said, and she made the argument for why she thought TPP was a great idea.
Because she was the Secretary of State.
So
it depends on who's paying her?
No, when you are a loyal department head anywhere, you follow the boss's lead.
I don't think you do that on things of character.
But she also had the opportunity, and she did reconsider under Bernie program, and she is looking at that. And so all is not lost.
But at least she has.
Political expediency
Right.
is the only reason she's changing her tune
It's
on
not
it
clear.
now or ever.
I beg to differ with you. I think that as they have put together a platform, and it was a good platform, they included, it was a platform of inclusion Bernie Sanders' platform and of her platform. They had the opportunity to sit down and negotiate, and that's what's good. It was a we kind of
And-
convention,
I
not an
want
I
to go to Vernon on
convention.
this. Vernon, what we've heard from others is that the platform will be jettisoned the first moment she's elected in office. She'll do what's expedient for her.
You know, you can't. As
I think
Joe
that's
Biden
unfair.
said, that's
It's
malarkey.
wait a minute.
You
Let's
know,
just get real here. The fact is, these conventions don't mean a thing. They're just a showtime for a bunch of politicians. It gives them airtime. Regardless of the party.
I know the one in Cleveland.
No,
was.
regardless
It
of
was
the
a
party.
showtime.
And the platforms, the parties don't follow these platforms.
No, but what the
platforms
candidates-
are meaningless.
But
This is all about power politics, and Team Donkey, they play to win. But
the
Vernon, I want to go to
platforms-
you, because if you think the conventions are important, let's talk about the convention.
Right.
While the mothers of black men killed by police were well on display and they played well in the convention hall, didn't the failure to recognize the sacrifice of the police officers hurt her and are going to hurt her in the national election?
The word played well is not a good phrase, because every time there's tragedy or hurt in people, the word played was not a good phrase. They did recognize the police officers. In fact, they spoke from it.
Oh, they did after the
did.
first
Yes,
night. They were
indeed.
there
They-
2
they
or 3
spoke to
times.
it. And so,
Only because
and so,
of the criticism that they knew there.
No, they were in the schedule.
They were genuine. And when you look at the fact that we had a national NAACP convention in Cincinnati, right down the road from Cleveland, and the presidential candidate from the Republican Party couldn't come down the road. And
Well, that's a canard. I mean,
and-
that
but
is
the-
such a
but the-
Trojan horse. You
couldn't-
schedule your NAACP convention the same week as the Republican convention, and you expected the major parties to attend.
The presidential candidate from
NAACP was
the
trying
presidential
Because her
deliberately
convention wasn't at the
embarrass
same
it
time.
and the Republican
from the Democratic
candidate,
Party showed up.
Jerry, let's hear from you.
Showed
As to
up.
was there anything in Philadelphia that you liked?
2 great takeaways. Number one, in my prescient prediction last week, I did say that the media would do the best they could to downplay the negatives, which they did. In fact, the only time I really heard the negatives in media was when you outlined them, Casey, and congratulations for your journalistic ethics. And the second thing is, the Democratic Party proved Donald Trump right. You really can have somebody build a wall and get them to pay for it, and the Democrats built 2 of them. One inside, one outside, to keep Bernie Sanders supporters away from the DNC elites.
Oh, that's not true. They were all over the place. In fact, they booed, they did everything. And I will tell you what
They did what?
They booed.
Oh, they booed. So
Yes.
they weren't happy in the
And
Convention
in
of
the
Unity.
Republican one, at least they showed up. In your side, everybody was afraid to even show up or talk. And on the
Nobody was afraid to
no,
show
no,
up
no.
and
On the
nobody's talk.
Democratic side, they did a roll call state by state, knowing that it showed that there was a difference there. And you know what?
After
they
the
didn't.
fix was in.
No, no,
Is
no.
this the party that has the DNC that put the fix in and rigged the election? That was in the emails from the DNC?
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
every-
All I
you're
know
the
is
only person
Deborah,
in America that
Debbie
doesn't,
Wasserman
because we've all read
Schultz
the
is gone.
emails.
But you know what? The thing that came out of our convention, you can pull all the crap you want. Michael Bloomberg was there to endorse Hillary Clinton. There were Republicans
Can I
there.
ask a question?
And when it was all over, this is the part that's important. Hillary Clinton and Senator Kaine were able to put their arms up in the air. They were a team. Never happened in Ohio
Well, Susan,
because
I wanna
it's
ask you a
all
question.
about I.
And
Susan,
the rival.
was that the same Michael Bloomberg, who was a Democrat, then registered as a Republican to take advantage of the electoral process to win the mayoral seat in New York City, and then changed to independent to win his 3rd term, and then changed back to Democrat?
No, he's
But
not
so-
a Democrat. He's
so
an
he's an
independent.
He's
The
independent.
thing
Donald
is-
Trump,
And-
listen, the problem with your position, Susan, is that Donald Trump is running against all of the global elites. The people that supported Bernie and support Trump know that as Americans we have
But
been
you
cheered.
You know what,
We
do
gotta
you-
concentrate.
have-
I wanna
Do you
concentrate.
know what
Wait a
Michael
minute, I wanna
Bloomberg
concentrate.
said?
No, I don't want to hear what Michael Bloomberg said. I
Obviously.
want to hear what Vernon has to say about what were the positives that came out of the Democratic convention?
There were positives on the side of the fact that there are former presidents who came out to the convention and supported Hillary Clinton. On the Republican side, not one of the former presidents came forward.
That's not
to support Donald Trump.
I want to hear what's
So,
positive about your
the
convention.
positive
I don't want to hear
was-
the rundown of the other
That's
side.
not
What's
a rundown.
positive
That's
of
positive.
your convention?
The
What came out
positive is
positive?
that Hillary Clinton is supported by the members and persons of the Democratic Party.
In case
She
you
what
haven't
came
been paying
out,
attention.
Wait a minute.
what
not.
came out is that people got to know her better. That she is
She's been around for 30 years.
Let me finish. You asked me. She is a sane, thoughtful, articulate, intelligent worker who works to get things done, who reads, who studies, who's knowledgeable, and can control the black button. That's what came out.
And who listens to people.
And listens.
Especially the women that her husband was abusing, and she enabled that situation for 20 years.
Much like what Donald Trump does.
Unfortunately, I mean, we could go on all night because there's so much fun to
Friday night. Let's
pick
go.
about the parties. There's a great divide in this country, and we see it each and every week. And we saw it on display in Cleveland, and we saw it on display in Philadelphia. When we come back from this short break, is there a racial divide here in Montgomery County? And what is the fallout from the Freddie Gray prosecutions? Stay tuned. Last week, welcome back. Last week there were two contentious town hall community meetings here in Montgomery County between Montgomery County Police and the African American community. Now, unlike neighboring jurisdictions, Montgomery County Police have been considered a model for the nation for the manner in which they conduct themselves. But at these meetings, many in attendance, there was a shocking amount of anger reflecting the growing national perception that the criminal justice system targets black Americans. Jerry, Montgomery County has had a very good reputation, but many echoed the growing national refrain that black males are being targeted and murdered by police. What do you attribute this to?
Before I answer that question, Casey, I got to admit you got two false assumptions in there. Number one, Montgomery County does not have a reputation in this regard because good news is not news. We don't have a crime problem. This is one of the safest counties in America, so they don't have a reputation. The other one is that black men are being killed, targeted, and killed by the police was not proven to be true in Ferguson, not proven to be true in Baltimore, not proven to be true, won't be proven to be true in Baton Rouge. So it's false. It's all a media hype as a gimmick to indict the Republicans.
Why? But the fact is that this was the sentiment that was expressed at the town hall meeting in Tacoma Park and at the town hall meeting in Germantown. You cannot ignore the fact that the African American community does feel that there is a growing problem and that they are under attack. Why do they feel that way?
They feel that way because it is brilliant political street theater, and it has been fanned by the president and everybody else. It is not true. It wasn't true in any of those three cities.
When you have a black man laying on the ground with his hands up
And he gets
and
shot.
asks not to be shot, and he gets shot, or another black man is pulled over in a car, and before he can even get his permit, his shoulder is blown away and he dies. Now,
Do you think this never happened to anybody else other than black people?
Well, has
It happened to other people, but the facts aren't behind
Where
it.
have you seen it happen to whites?
I've seen YouTube videos of it on YouTube. It's
Well,
happened to other people, Vernon.
Then you're saying
How
that
come it wasn't true in Ferguson? The city, state, and federal Justice Department cleared it as a justifiable shoot by a guy who had just
But that
committed a
officer
robbery.
is going off the force too.
Huh?
Yeah,
that
and the
officer
justi-
is going
and the-
off the
No.
force.
That has
We have
nothing to do with
problems
it.
with
He
a-
was cleared by the Justice Department.
The
we
Justice
have
Department
problems-
came in and said that police department was racist.
Racist.
They
No,
have a new police chief.
That instant, we're going on fact, not your feeling
That
or your
was a
guesses.
fact.
Fact.
The
That's
That's
not
right.
a fact.
The
The fact is that shoot was cleared on the state, city, and federal level
Cleared
by
of what?
Barack
Cleared
It
of what?
was a
As
good
a good
shoot.
shooting.
As
The
a
guy
good,
was
as a good
belligerent.
shooting. What is a good shooting?
A
Is it
good shooting is
justifiable?
when
And what is a
if it-
bad shooting?
Well, I want-
Any
I wanna-
shooting
I
is
wanna-
You
a
know
bad
exactly
shooting.
what I'm
Hold on a
talking
second.
about,
Hold
Vernon.
on
You're
a
not
second.
being
Yeah.
straight in it.
Now let's be honest. The police are involved in a very dangerous job.
Absolutely.
And they are in charge with using their firearms when necessary
Absolutely.
to protect themselves
Yes.
and to protect the lives of others.
And I agree
And
with
the
that.
point that Jerry is making, and and it's correct, with respect to Darren Wilson, the federal investigation cleared him of any wrongdoing in that shooting. They said it was a justifiable use of force.
Every one of them have been justified.
So
No, it hadn't.
Quote,
There was
no, they
one
hadn't.
in,
No, they
there's
hadn't.
one in
According to what
Charleston
he
that's
said.
not
According to what
justified
he's
at all.
saying.
That's not
According to what
Jerry.
he's saying,
No,
no,
wait a minute.
there
No,
has
that's
not
what-
been
that's
one
not what he's
case.
saying.
There has not been one case yet where the officer was in fact indicted and convicted.
That's not true. I'm sure there have been plenty of
Look,
officers indicted,
no,
convicted,
the
and there's
Eric
one in
Gar- I believe
Charleston
the
that's
Eric
going to go to
Gardner case
jail.
in New York, where he was strangled and choked. There were reprimands to the police in that instance because the police officer used the wrong
Excessive force.
Excessive force.
The wrong hold.
So-
But the bottom line is that black men and teenagers are targeted more than
No,
white.
That's not
That
true.
is,
Susan,
you have a
there is. I mean, look. This is the problem, and this is where the two sides have to find some commonality, because you're shouting that this is a fact, and Jerry's shouting that it's not true. Doesn't make either one right. We've got to find a way to make sense of this and to find a bridge here. Now, Vernon, I want to ask you a question. Now, I think Ike Leggett and the police were very courageous for holding these two meetings. I thought it was
Absolutely.
I thought it was a tremendous bridge to both communities. But what came out was, again, that the white community doesn't feel that there's a problem, and that the black community may feel that there's a problem, but it hasn't shown that in Montgomery County our police are targeting anybody.
Right. Well, I would say that those who have not had the experience of living in segregated situations, in situations where there's injustice, they would not feel, quote, the burn, using the phrase that's out in there now, the burn. Wherein back in the day, in my time, it was very apparent. Doing I grew up in segregated schools and what have you. So I learned all the books that were written in my school were white. All of the other things in my school were white. And so I learned the white culture. I also learned to live as a black man. So there's
Vernon,
a whole lot of difference.
You've got to admit that I mean, this is a long time after the passage of the Civil Rights Amendment in 1964. The racial situation is different today, and it should be better today.
It's not.
We're
We're
still-
going backwards fast.
Oh,
We're
that's-
still
that's
fighting some of the
completely
And
same
just
concerns.
ask County Executive Leggett,
And
who
look-
talked
and
about
look at
his
the Voting
story.
Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act that has been stripped and put
Who
set
stripped it?
aside.
Who stripped it?
The Republicans
the
wouldn't,
Supreme Court thinking people.
and the Supreme Court didn't re-vote
How
it.
can you
the
compare
last.
today
You
to
know,
60 years ago?
this is
The facts
Things-
just don't.
yes,
don't
there has-
lie.
Just
There
ask
has
County
been change.
Executive Leggett.
Yes, there
I
has
mean,
been change.
People are stopped all over
wait a minute,
just while
Susan,
driving
Susan.
while black.
Susan, I know that's a great common story that the liberal left wants to.
It has nothing to do with
it's
the
a great
liberal-
slogan. It's
No,
a great
no, no,
slogan.
no.
It's driving while black, driving while
No, no,
Hispanic,
no, no. Let me
driving
finish.
while Asian.
Do you know what?
that's
I've
just
known
too
Vernon for
simplistic.
a
That
long-
is just too simplistic.
let me
You will go
finish.
back and get the statistics of those who have
Driving
been
while
stopped
blonde,
along
driving while
95.
young.
Let me
Along
finish.
95.
Vernon and I were engaged for a long time in the NAACP. And when you have the opportunity to sit amidst audiences of black individuals year after year, decade after decade, the
Susan,
stories
let's
are
focus-
real.
Let's focus on what's happened here in Montgomery County.
I think there are
Montgomery-
incidents, and the chief said we got to do better. We got to do
Montgomery
better.
County, you can't compare Montgomery County to the rest of the country.
Look,
in
we
a
can't
sense,
compare it to what went
because
on in Baltimore when
Right.
Freddie Gray was killed. And this
But
is
we
more
don't want,
important than
I
that
mean,
next
any
segment.
of those incidents could happen here. And we are naive to think that they can't happen.
right.
And I do
Oh,
give
Susan, you're absolutely wrong.
No, because
it's a matter of police training.
No, I was just in Minnesota and stayed with friends a mile and a half where the young man in Falcon Heights got shot. Nice, white, middle-class neighborhood.
People get shot by the police all the time, Susan.
And what I'm saying is that
the-
could happen here.
The
We're
common
naive.
denominator in
Listen,
the shootings
here
we're
in
talking
Montgomery
about
County,
have been
you've got-
belligerency to the police.
here in Montgomery County, we have a tremendous number of police departments, all kinds of jurisdictions around this DMV.
But how's that any different than any other community?
And it doesn't have to be a situation where Montgomery County, I have confidence in Montgomery County Police
And Chief
Department.
Manger
and
is
Chief
great.
Manger is great. And
But he's a
all
white guy.
this is-
Don't you
no,
think he's
it
racist?
is not.
No,
it is
'cause
not
I know
you don't
about-
have confidence
it
in
is
the police
not-
chief
we're
in
not
Dallas?
saying that we don't trust white folk. That's not the question here. The question here is if an individual does not have the right heart, does not have the right things in their heart, anything can happen. And it does not have to be a Montgomery County police officer. It could be any
Well,
police officer, and it happened
we're a
in
lo-
Montgomery County.
We're a local program.
Yeah,
and
but
our focus is
anything
on
could
what happens
happen
here
in this
Montgomery
area
County
that could
and
set
in the
off
state of
in
Maryland.
crime.
But
we can't solve the problem.
No, but
we
Casey,
can't.
Throughout the
but
nation.
I think it was good in these hearings, in these two meetings, that I was told that there were people from the state's attorney's office, there were judges there were community leaders, there were religious leaders, and what happened is that I think there were some white people in those audiences who heard for the first time about what can go on and does go on.
All right,
We're not
Susan,
perfect.
We got to wrap it up. I want to go to the floor director. Are we moving to a hard break and not going to Freddie Gray? Okay. When we come back, we're going to come back to parting shots. The Freddie Gray story will have to be done when we come back in September. Now, stay tuned for parting shots. And now, welcome back. Parting shots. Vernon Ricks, first opportunity that we've been on this stage together.
And I've enjoyed
And
it.
you've survived pretty
and I've
well.
Survived.
All right, so now
with
with
my
parting shots.
shot, I am giving kudos to the Department of Transportation and the county leadership for finally providing transportation to the residents of Tobytown in the richest part of the county, Potomac, Maryland. Thank you.
Thank you, Vernon. Now with parting shots, Susan Heltemes.
Okay, as of July 1st, the country of Morocco has banned plastic bags. They are the second biggest users of plastic bags in the world behind the United States. They are doing it to help the environment. Now we as a country need to do that. And also today, the court overturned the voting restriction regulations that were passed in North Carolina. The same was true last week in Wisconsin and Texas. We're moving forward. Thank God, thank you, Hillary Clinton. As a woman, the glass ceiling's been broken.
Okay. Rose Lee, thank you. And lead off with your parting shot.
The number of Asian American voters is expected to double by 2040. Montgomery County has about 16% of their population is Asian American, and I think that is an indication of things to come, and I think politicians on both sides of the aisle need to pay more attention to how the Asian American voter thinks.
Thank you, Rose. Jerry Cave, your parting shot.
The one thing you didn't hear at the Democratic Party convention was a list of accomplishments by Hillary Clinton, because there aren't any.
Boo.
Is that your parting shot, Jerry? Thank you.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. You know, I spent a lot of time the last 2 weeks talking about race relations here in Montgomery County. And it worries me and it bothers me a great deal that we have such a huge divide between between the two communities. And yes, I am skeptical about whether or not blacks are targeted as much as they are perceived. I worry about that. I hope I'm right and you're wrong, because it would be better if it wasn't so. But I am concerned, and I think as a community and as a state, we have to work to make sure that all of our citizens are treated fairly and equitably, no matter what race they are, no matter what creed they are. Otherwise, as a society, we're going to fall apart. And that's really the theme of why we're here each and every week. I want to thank the panel for being here because we give lively debate to opposing views. We don't always agree, but we can walk off the stage and still be civil and conversant with one another. So I want to thank you for being here. You give a lot of time on your Friday nights when you'd rather be doing something else. Thank you so much. I want to thank the crew for being here. Thank you for helping us out. And I want to thank the audience for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. And like the French, we're going on vacation for August. We'll see you after Labor Day.
100 days to